Greetings and salutations, wonderful people. My name is Scribe, and welcome to part 17 of the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena. In the last episode, we cleared the first area of Labyrinthian, and now here we are at the entrance to the next one, the Domain of Canaan. So, one question that was asked, there was quite a few questions that got asked in the 15th episode. Please bear in mind that I did not mass record, but I recorded 2 episodes the same night, so I'm not going to be able to completely instantly respond to questions, but I wanted to address this one, which I think really needs to be asked, which is, how do marshals compete with mages? Because I think that's a really good question. So you can see here, I'm only level 14, which is quite a lot, but I only have about 85 health. I only have, I don't have any extra health modifiers. I could have more health if I had leveled endurance, but I did not because I kind of don't need to. And this is part of the problem, you see, because the fact that just an entire stat doesn't matter to me is wild. So you can see that we have, this is our standard, is 1 to 2 HP plus 4 to 5 per 1 level. It only costs us 5 to do this. We have this healing spell, which is still very impressive. We have abilities to cure disease. We have basically every magical effect we could want on hand at the push of a button. We have the ability to remove walls. We have the ability to paralyze people. We have the ability to poison people. We have the ability to create platforms. We have the ability to fire magic bolts that do 140 damage a hit, a pop. We have touch spells that do the exact same damage but are cheaper because they're closer range. We have the ability to create shields that give us 99 health per level as like a buffer to our own health. We have the ability to heal any wound. We have the ability to cure any status effect. We have the ability to open locks. We have the ability to fly. We have the ability to resist elements if we wanted. So, justifiably, the question then becomes, how do marshals compete with that? How do you handle this effect when they don't have that ability? And this is a problem that is going to continue popping up, I feel. It's very important to mention that this is going to keep happening, because Daggerfall, it's a very similar problem. Morrowind, it's a very big problem in Morrowind. And then in Oblivion, I don't quite know how Oblivion handled the magic system. From what little I've played, it's kind of better, but it's also kind of worse because that's the game that they introduced Magicka Regen, and then they kind of fixed it in Skyrim, although they did it with 2 very clever fixes, although that also makes Magic feel very underwhelming compared to these games, which I'm sure a lot of people would agree with. So, I don't have a lot of experience playing a martial character because unless I have to, I generally don't play martial characters because I just prefer mages. Like, even in games where mages are not that good, I still play mages. So it's reasonable to ask, how do they handle this? So the big thing would be endurance, because that's going to give you extra health. You're going to want the most health you can get your hands on. Now, there's one advantage to marshals that I feel like we can talk about, okay? And that is their difference in resources. So marshals are obviously going to need healing potions. Healing potions, I believe, heal 50 health. I might be wrong, but I do believe that is the case. They heal about 50 health, and they don't cost that much. So they cost, they're a heck of a lot cheaper than restore power potions. So a big thing is you're going to be primarily getting those potions, because you can't heal with magic like mages can. So you're going to be using a completely different set of resources, which is going to be your healing potions. It's going to be your use of, you know, different cure poisons and cure diseases. Instead of buying just all restore power potions, you're kind of going to be divvying up your things. So in the early game, that's probably what you're going to be using. Another thing is marshals. Again, I might be wrong, but I think this is how it works. Marshals have a much better reduction to armor class than mages do. Mages cannot wear armor. I believe marshals can use the magical armors that I have been using, you know, the belts, the amulets, the bracelets, etc. So they're going to have a much better reduction of armor class, meaning in all likelihood they're getting hit way less than your mage might be, depending on the thing. As for damage is an interesting one, because as long as you have a weapon, it's not as bad. So, for example, Ebony adds not only better attack roll, but it adds better damage. And agility and strength can add extra attack and damage. Agility makes you harder to hit. So reasonably, the three statistics that a marshal is going to be caring about is going to be strength, kind of. It's going to be strength. It's going to be endurance. It's going to be agility. So another thing for marshals is that race class combination matters. So the reason why I'm playing a high elf instead of just like a Nord, because you could totally, you know, make a Nord mage, but you're going to be having a worse Nord mage if you made a Nord mage compared to if you made a high elf mage, because even though they don't have abilities like extra magicka, they still have bonuses. So you're going to be relying on So even though you're going to be relying on different statistics, you still have options. The weapons are going to be doing a lot more. So how... sorry, I completely got scatterbrained. So race class combo is going to matter a lot. So the reason why I'm doing as well is because I'm playing a high elf mage. Because even though they don't have, you know, the extra magic and stuff, they still have attribute modifiers. So you have more intelligence, you have more willpower, you have more, just in general, you have more. Your options are better. So what race would be better for a marshal. Well, I actually did some research on this before I recorded, and the understanding that I have is that if you're playing an archer character, red guards are better, which is wrong on so many levels, because not only the game manual, but also the lore makes red guards out to be like the marshals of the group, you know? But no, apparently they get bonuses to their bows and ranged weapons, so bows and daggers, which I'm fairly certain is an oversight on the developer's part. I don't believe that that was intentional. I believe that they just got the red guards and the wood elves mixed up. So the wood elves are supposed to have this bonus, but they don't. For melee weapons, that is going to be your wood elf territory. Wood elves, for every 3 levels, they get a +1 to attack and damage rolls with melee weapons. So what that means is that... Okay, did I... Curses. I believe I have been foiled. Oh. Oh, it's been... Okay, you're annoying. Okay, so you get that bonus. Now, if you want to use both, but you want to have the extra bonus, and you're not afraid to level a little bit more, what you might do is you can play a Dark Elf. Dark Elves, for every 4 levels, gain a +1 to their attack and damage rolls. So that's what you're going to be looking at. So Dark Elves are a really good combination. I used them when I tried to play the game as a healer mage. So that's going to be your good bet. So what does that look like? So you're going to be picking in my case, you're going to be picking a Dark Elf and then one of the martial classes, and then you're basically going to kind of be playing a similar base game that I was during the start of this. However, instead of using my money to get spells and get restore power potions, you're getting healing potions. Then, with the money you have, you are probably going to want to be getting the... Oh, this is the key room. We'll come back here. We're going to map out everything. So you're going to be doing that. And then another thing you're probably going to want is to be investing in potions like, you know, cure disease, cure poison. For Fang Lair, instead of utilizing a fire resistance spell, you might use a fire resistance potion. Different effects. So the potions are really going to be making up for everything. So you can also use things like armor. So another thing that I would definitely recommend is definitely, if you can, utilize the... There we go. definitely utilize the unofficial Elder Scrolls pages, because you're going to be able to look at the different classifications of weapon and find out where the ebony equivalent is. And I would highly recommend doing that, because that will help you. Yeah, okay, it was Arcade's Mercy, which is disease. There we go. So that's kind of what you're going to be looking at. So that's how you could do it. I'm not going to tell you that it's just as easy, because A, I haven't done it, and B, I'm not going to lie to my audience. Mages are overpowered in these games. They have always been overpowered in these games, and they will continue to be overpowered in these games. There is no bones about it. I think the only one that I don't think they're completely overpowered in is Skyrim, and Skyrim is a special case, and I'll get into that later. Enemies nearby. Oh, hello there. There we go. Another thing, weapon material matters for a martial, because I can just use magic and kill whatever I want, but certain classifications you need to have a specific level of weapon, like silver or otherwise. And oh, hello there. I haven't seen one of you in a while. Usually you guys come in pairs nowadays. That's surprising. Oh, there's the other one. Hello. Please be dead. Thank you. Yeah, these guys usually come in pairs now. That's surprising. Always check your surroundings, even if it says the "you are healed" thing instead of enemies being nearby, because sometimes the enemy spawns as you are present, as you have gotten healed. So please bear that in mind. How are my statistics? Are they back to normal now? They are, yes, okay. So that's part of it. So again, how would you handle that? Is a wonderful question. Can they keep up? I won't say they will be exactly as broken as what I'm doing here. That is incorrect, and it would be very misleading if I was to say that they would be just as broken as what I'm doing here. Are they capable of beating the game? Yes. Is it going to be as easy as these characters? I don't know. I am thinking of doing an extra video akin to Clement J64 during like his Sonic retrospectives and other games. And I might showcase what a martial character might look like during that, because again, it's an important question when you're talking about these games, how playing a martial is going to be affected, because you are going to have a vastly different experience than a lot of people. And mages were overpowered, but I feel like things are much more, they're less cut and dry, I feel, which is understandable when you have games like this. There we go. So yeah, that's part of it. So yeah, short answer, no, they don't compete. Long answer, and for my detailed answer, view the past like 10-20 minutes I've been rambling. So yes, it's a very good question, because RPGs are a very interesting experience in terms of balance, and I feel like for Elder Scrolls, one of the reasons I like it so much is it is trying to make you feel like you are playing the character you are playing. So for this game, it wants you to feel like a cool wizard. And so they give you abilities that let you be a cool wizard, like floating or removing walls or shifting the world around you. And when you let that go to its logical conclusion, you can be incredibly unfair, because warriors do not have that. So you need to compensate for them somehow. So in this game, they compensate for it by making their hit dice really small, because that's basically what every RPG does. If they're trying to make wizards balanced, they make them, squishy. But the problem with that is when you have a the problem with that is when you have abilities, like, for example, how are you not dead? Okay, you know what? There we go. So when you have abilities like shield, when you have abilities like healing and stuff, it's not going to be an incredibly fair experience, because there are ways around everything, and that is completely how certain things work in games like Dungeons and Dragons, which this game I feel definitely took inspiration from. But it does suck for some people, because they want to be, like Guts from Berserk, or really, name any fantasy warrior character. They want to experience the fantasy of being like them, and it's definitely unfortunate when the gameplay doesn't really go for that. I will say Skyrim is a lot better at that, because I feel like a lot of that was them understanding probably the struggles of a martial character, which was not feeling like you were really cool. So they give you this sort of magical ability that you get to use regardless of your statistics. I feel like the shout mechanic really did give access to magic for an entire player base that they might not have otherwise been able to enjoy. I need to drop down this hole, because I can tell that is the only way I'm going to get to go through here. So yeah. But yes, great question. Sir. Ow! Oh, there's multiple. Okay. Oh, okay, you guys are... Yes, I will deal with you in a moment. It's not my fault you guys can't pathfind. Heaven help me when you can. There we go. And for you, sir. Reasons why mages did need to be nerfed, I will say. That's the problem with like game design, I feel like, is it's a very careful balancing act, because The game designers have to figure out how to let you enjoy your fantasy without letting everything just be a cakewalk, you know? Then again, I am of the camp that game balance necessarily... It's hard, because on the one hand, if it's a single-player engagement, you might reasonably say, well, it's a single-player game balance doesn't really matter. On the other hand, if you were trying to craft a specific kind of experience, like for example, a From Software game, if you're trying to play a From Software game, it's a lot harder because you're trying to keep that challenging, engaging experience while also trying to let the players feel cool. And that's very hard for some people. It's a careful balancing act that I feel like it's like trying to thread a needle. You know, you're trying to give the players cool abilities, but you're also trying very carefully to not let your players just become God. And that's something that has been reasonably criticized in some games. I know a lot of people don't like sorcerers in the From Software games because they're so overpowered when you like really get down to it. Like from Dark Souls 1, they were basically like everybody would just like call them easy mode, which I don't want to accept because I like playing sorcerers. Again, even if the mages are bad, I still want to play them. Like, I know that this has no bearing on like Elder Scrolls or From Software, but like I remember that apparently sorcerers got like butchered during a balancing patch in Diablo 4, and I had been playing a sorcerer at the time, and so I was like, okay, you know, and they got butchered, and it sucked for me, but it was like, I had that thought in my head, it's like, okay, do I play a martial now? And then I just immediately was like, nope. Aren't they gonna suck? Yep. But you're still gonna play them? Yep. Like I said, I don't care if they're good or not. Magic feels cooler for me to use, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, I feel like mages, or like, swordsmen and stuff are really cool, but magic is just... it's something else, you know? In most media, it's basically you just warping reality to do what you want. And in most stuff, it comes to, you know, careful study and discipline, and I think that's really cool. I like it when fantasy offers something for the smart guys. You know, the strong and the cool guys, you know, they have their weapons, and that's amazing. But I like magic. I think magic is really cool, because it offers the question of like, you know, oh, they have a sword, what do you have? I have fireball, you know? And it also like really feeds into like my power fantasy, because like, especially for Dungeons and Dragons, like, oh, I love playing mages in Dungeons and Dragons, because it's like, it's that feeling of your martial party getting into a bind, and then you looking at the situation and going, I don't like that my friends are struggling, and so I'm just gonna fix the situation. Like, I have one game where I'm playing a very utility-focused character, and I love that, because my martial friends just absolutely tear it up in combat. They do so much cool stuff in combat, and then, you know, when there's a problem that comes around that they can't solve through might, I think it's really cool that I'm able to help them with that, and in turn they protect me in combat. It's a wonderful feeling of teamwork. Okay, let's turn around. Again, I'm going to continue to try and map out the areas, because that means more treasure, and more experience points, which means I get to go to a slightly higher level than I did the first time I played. Alright, let's drop down. Excellent. This is the pathway I need. Oh, that's not nice. Okay, can you... Oh, you're gonna be annoying, aren't you? There we go. So yes. Yeah, the race class combo is nothing. It's not unique to marshals because I also did it as a wizard. You may be wondering why the spiders seem to be not so scary for me. Well, for those of you who have not played Arena, which I don't know how many of you that is, but for those of you who haven't, Arena has different status effects. You have seen me acquire multiple throughout my time here. I have acquired disease, I have acquired poison, I have been cursed. But one that you saw me see when I made my abilities, like the halt spell, is paralysis. So you may be wondering why I haven't had any paralysis. Well, that is because spiders do paralysis. That's what makes them so scary. However, I am an Altmer, which means that not only do I have the superior stats for a mage, but I also have total immunity to paralysis. So this means that I can get hit by the spider as much as I want, and I will never be paralyzed. This is a reasonable moment to ask, wow, that feels like Altmer are way more powerful than any other race because, you know, the Nords basically get half damage on frost attacks and no damage on a successful save. Bretons get the exact same, but for magic. So, does this mean that, you know, every race has bonuses that are good? No. No, it does not. I can assure you that there are some bonuses that are not very great. There's one that is basically they lose less stamina while sleeping or while swimming, and they don't drown, which is the Argonian ability. I have never struggled with water. I have never experienced a problem with water. So I don't know how well that one works. But I'm assuming there's some use somewhere. And more than likely, most people don't really play Argonians because of the ability. They play it because they like Argonians. They like Argonian lore. Which is fine, you know? It's perfectly okay to just play a race because you like the race. I mean, with level ups and things being what they are, you could probably play a Nord Mage, and with some stat investment, you could still be just as good as an Altmer. Your defensive ability would be entirely useless compared to them, but you know. So with that in mind, you may be thinking, wow, so are they broken in the other games? You know, if you've never played those, or if you've only played Skyrim and you remember that they had extra magicka, yes, they are all broken in basically every game that I am aware of them being in, aside from maybe Skyrim, and even then I would still have a very strong argument for them being amazing in Skyrim as well, because... Hello there. Because, you know, say what you will, about, you know, the other races. They have really cool abilities. Nothing compared to an Altmer. An Altmer in the later games will have resistances to diseases. They will have resistance to paralysis. They will have the most Magicka bonus of any of the races, to the point where they are the only one that gets a Magicka bonus in Skyrim. They are ridiculous. And they will continue to be the mechanically best race in the games. Don't get me wrong, it's not that every other one is inferior, it's just that up until Morrowind, the benefits that you get for playing one outweigh every other one. Unless you're playing a Marshal, in which case you might want to be using something else. Ooh, 6 points, that's lovely. So we can have 99 luck. That's fun. I don't think we would get a bonus to our fist damage, right? I don't think we would. Yeah, let's just max out luck. Why not? And then I think what we're gonna do is we're either gonna go willpower. Yeah, I think we'll go willpower, because then that's the other stat that I believe can affect sell prices. So that will mean that I can bully them more. Excellent. So yeah, that's it. Up until Morrowind, the other racial bonuses were kind of garbage. In my opinion, they weren't great. Like, they were great flavor, don't get me wrong. I love the flavor, but also, again, aside from the bonuses to weapons, there's really nothing there, you know? Like, the Nords are not really an impressive race aside from their stat allotment. Because, you know, now don't get me wrong, because of the fact that you go to very themed areas, I will say that the Nords are probably great for things like the Fortress of Ice. If you were as high a level as I was, then I will grant you that the Nord's ability is probably the best one. Because of the fact that you can take half and then no damage on that attack. But other than that, it's not great. I will not lie to you. Spider has something useful. Please don't do this to me. Oh, thank goodness. Alright. Oh wait, no, we want to use Arcanist Key, because that is better. There we go. Oh, thank goodness. Alright. Well, we didn't get to clear this one out, but, I mean, we almost mapped it out. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to call it for today. And then in the next episode, we will finally get the piece of the Staff of Chaos and begin our preparations for the next one. Alright. Well, I hope you guys had a wonderful time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.